Welcome back now. If there's ever a man to surprise us in the kitchen, it's the one and only Dean Diplock. He has a traditional South African fast food dish that certainly needs some explaining.
Yep, Dean from the Radisson Blue in Athlone has joined us. He's cooking up quite the dish, a lamb bunny chow. This is a pretty ambitious dish for those of us who've never heard of it. Dean, what is it?
Well, the most ambitious part of it, I'll tell you, is cooking this and not getting too many complaints from the Indian community that I'm sure are watching the programme as well.
You're not doing it right, Dean. You're doing it your way.
Because Lani doesn't know
so
what he's doing.
So tell us about it and its origin.
OK, it's a typically Durban East Coast dish. It was brought to South Africa by the immigrants, labourers, the Indian labourers who came. Now, normally when they go out and work in the sugarcane fields, they take their food with them and a roti bread. Unfortunately, they couldn't get roti, so it changed then to government loaf, which is cheap, cut open and filled with a curry, and that is the travelling unit that they use for cooking in. So the most important part about a Durban curry, besides the heat, which I'll explain a little bit now, is equal amounts of ginger and garlic, and lots of it, and then dhania jeera, which is your coriander and cumin involved, and then lots and lots of chili. But unfortunately, I know you guys don't like spice too much, so what I've done is I've created my own curry powder, and I've toned down by a whole 1/4 just the curry powder, the chili itself.
The tum-tums.
Exactly. So over here, I'll just show you, we have our dhania jeera, which is your cumin and coriander, cardamom, fenugreek seeds, you have caraway seed, there is star anise, cloves, cinnamon, all of the good things. We toast them off, we grind them up as we've done before, to which we add our turmeric, and then the chili powder, as much as you like.
So how long does it take? I presume you're going to make it in batch, because you're not going to do that every time you're making it.
Absolutely. No, the recipe that we have up is for a batch. You use a little bit, in this case 2 tablespoons for the whole curry. The rest you can put in a plastic container, stick in the freezer.
What about the curry leaves? Where'd you get them?
The curry leaves I got from my local Indian shop.
Did you?
Yes.
I'm smelling them
They
here.
are absolutely quintessential and important in these curries. So I'm just going to quickly move on and put in the curry powder that we've made.
OK.
OK. May look like a lot, but not to worry, it all cooks through. Also, just for speed serve cases, so please don't write in and say that I'm not doing it right. I do know how it's done. It's just the case
of TV cooking.
We're making a mutton curry in 8 minutes. OK, so I have a tomato sauce, which is just tomato and the tomato paste, and I've rendered it down by about half, which halves the cooking time immediately. And the potatoes have been pre-cooked as well.
Of course.
All right.
OK.
And our mutton has been pre-cooked.
Now, talk to us about the star of the dish.
OK, the mutton, I'm using Irish mutton here.
Yum.
Very difficult to get hold of, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I have to get my butcher to swap out a lamb so I can get some...
Really? OK.
Some mutton for it.
And if it's difficult to get hold of, can we substitute it for something else?
Lamb, perfectly fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
So mutton is older lamb, isn't it?
It's an older lamb. You get a lot more heavier flavour out of it. I've just cooked that with a bit of stock, browned it off nicely, a bit of salt, and then put in the stock and slowly cook it. In goes my tomato. I'm not going to use all of that. It's quite a lot. It's quite also rendered down.
Beautiful.
And then I'm going to pop in my curry leaves. Now, these are very fragrant. You don't have to use them, but if you can, fantastic. You can use them dried as well. And also, if you can't, you can replace them for lime leaves as well, or lemon leaves. It's perfectly fine.
So is this still a popular dish today? And if you're talking about street food, people would take it away and a little takeout carton with
absolutely.
the bread.
It's you go to most takeaways, as you would have fish and chip shops. You can get a mutton curry, a chicken curry, and a bean curry. Those are the 3 most popular ones. No bones in it, although I would suggest that if you are cooking it, do cook it with the bones and then take the bones out.
When do you add the spuds in, do you know?
The spuds we're going to pop in and then we're going to stick it in the oven, basically.
Okay, good man.
So it's going to take a little time to cook, but in this case, because we've pre-cooked the mutton, it's going to go really quickly. But as usual, we have one made in advance.
Good man.
Now,
music to my ears.
we don't want to stir that too much. You can, if you're making this from scratch, you'd put the potatoes in raw, and I would suggest using a glassy potato that's going to hold its shape. Baby potatoes are fine. This is a rutter potato that I have that I grew in my own garden over the summer.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Yeah, something to do on the side when we're not cooking all the time. And here is one we made earlier.
And the crowds gather around the cameras.
And everybody's been smelling it the whole time. So
if you were making this, what are we talking about in terms of temperature and time in the oven? If you were making it without having parboiled the potatoes?
Well, it really depends on how soft the mutton is at that, but you just need to check it. You don't want it to be falling apart. It wants a little bit of chew to it. That's traditionally how it'd be served. Now, obviously, we've made a batch of it, as usual, to feed the entire crew.
That's not fair.
As we normally do. A good thing about a curry, if you leave it overnight and cool it down, in the fridge, cool it down, the following day when you reheat it again, it tastes even better.
Is that a fact, though? People
Absolutely.
say that all the time.
Because what has happened, all of those spices have almost marinated into the meats rather than just sitting on the outside. And the oil as well. The oil is a conduit for spice specifically, all the natural oils found in it. And you will find there will be a layer of oil on the top, perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. You can skim it off, but that's where all the flavour is.
Now, tell us about the bread, because these are hard to find, and they don't slice
I had to order this bread 3 days in advance because I couldn't find an unsliced government loaf, as we call them in South Africa.
Government loaf?
A government loaf. It was...
I never saw them in the shops
If
before.
you go in, no, I
Impossible.
haven't actually, but if you go into any bakers, you can go in and just buy...
You could get it, but unfortunately...
Unbranded.
Baking the baked breads that you get are quite hard on the outside.
Right.
There are special recipes and certain ingredients that they put in
But this is going to soften up and moisten anyway because of the sauce.
Absolutely, but the whole thing about this is it's portable. You eat what you want, the rest gets fed to the birds or whomever.
Everyone's happy.
Exactly, and we have a lovely fruit chutney there as well, a blatjang, that goes very well with it. Try a little bit of the
So we're popping
sauce.
this
Now,
in?
it's not hot. I promise you. He was always worried it's going to be hot. You can control because you're creating your own spice. Now, you don't have to go through this whole process.
Are you getting emotional?
Yeah. You don't have to go through this whole process.
Okay.
You can pop down to your local Indian shop or African shop. There are a couple, I think there's one on Baggot Street as well that I've seen. And they will have pre-made masalas as well.
Really?
So you can mix and match your life. I would suggest maybe a leaf masala and add more chili powder if you want to spice it up
So you're
a little
saving yourself
bit.
a lot of time and effort. And also for beginners, I mean, this is a very
It's
ambitious
the
dish.
easiest way, exactly.
If
It
I
is
was cooking it
ambitious.
at
You
home.
do need a spice
Have you
grinder,
made this in the
etc.
restaurant, Dean? What's the feedback been like?
This is something we're going to be launching this year coming in. We're going to have a whole load of South African dishes, including, hopefully, if all goes well, a spit roast. So we're going to do
lovely.
spit roasts at the hotel.
Dean,
We're going to do suckling pigs
that is
and
sensational.
lamb.
Are we saving this one for Graham?
Well,
Yeah.
whomever
If there's
would
any
like to
left.
have. There's plenty to go around.
That is
And
sensational.
as you see, it's not too hot. So
As
you'll
always,
enjoy.
today's recipe is up on the website as well. You can check out virginmediatelevision.ie/weekendam, or as usual, you can call into Dean in the Radisson in Athlone to try everything for yourself. I'm sure he'd love to see you. Dean, thank you so much.
Fantastic,
This is
thank you.
absolutely gorgeous.
Now, after the break, TV superstar and best-selling author Graham Norton is here. Thankfully, there's no red chair set up for us. I don't think. Who's checking? See you in a few minutes.